Muscles do not need to be shocked with extremely different stimulus in order to grow. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today because this is something that people say and do all the time. You've even heard bodybuilders say it for years that, I need to shock a muscle. And let's be frank, we don't need to do that, right? We don't need to do that. Now, are there times when we may want to change something because something better fits our goals? For example, you've been doing pull-ups on your back and bicep day, but you realize your biceps need more stimulus than your lats, so you switch to chin-ups. Okay, but that's a case of prioritization. But people tend to do stuff like, I wanted to really shock my muscles into growth, so I added 10 extra sets over what I normally do every week, and then they get really sore. Or they'll do things like, I decided to really shock the muscles, so I did a bunch of these weeder intensity techniques, which there isn't much actual use for. I'm not a fan of those things for the most part, which again, they might do a bunch of forced reps, which means after they pretty much reach failure on a bench press, they have spotters help them do more reps where they help lift the weight, where they do drop sets to where they drop down and use lighter dumbbells and then drop them again, use lighter dumbbells, and then repeat the same thing again after they've rested. And again, they're like, I'm taking everything to absolute failure. Okay, this is not how you stimulate muscle growth. And again, this is also a very, very short-term approach to training. I think people get stuck in their heads because when you're a novice, we can progress pretty much every workout, right? When you're a novice lifter, a lot of novice programs, you put 5 pounds on the bar every time you squat more than you did the time before. And sometimes people can do this for 3 months straight, 4 months straight. And they could be squatting 2 or 3 times a week, and it just goes up. They're adding 10 pounds every single week for months. And so they get this idea that individual sessions are extremely important. Okay, they get that idea that every session is going to stimulate large amounts of muscle growth. When the reality is, once you've been training a while, you've gone through that whole novel newbie phase, everything that we do is really about an accumulation over periods of time, right? Your individual sessions only contribute such a minuscule amount. They're almost negligible, right? The amount of muscle that you stimulate and gain from a single training session once you've been training a couple years is so small that it would be pretty much immeasurable with any sort of equipment, right? Everyone understands this, hopefully, that what we are looking at is essentially every workout session, can I add like 1 hair worth of muscle? Like I think of a strand of hair, maybe. Okay, little tiny, immeasurable almost amounts of muscle gain. And what we're looking for is if we are consistently doing that over months and months and months, then it turns into substantial amounts of muscle growth, right? So when people are doing this stuff, I'm just trying to hammer my muscles into submission, every single session. And I'm not saying we shouldn't train hard. I want to be clear here. I'm not saying you shouldn't be training hard, but how do we define hard? I define hard as getting sets close to failure or taking sets to failure and doing enough of them to stimulate muscle growth. For some muscles, as few as 3 sets in a session could do that, but we may go more. I prescribe usually for most of my clients, I like around 10 sets a week for a muscle. That's our baseline, and then we assess from there. Some people gain quite well on less. Some people gain better if we go a bit above that, right? 12, maybe even 15 for a lagging muscle group. But for the most part, I feel there's very little benefit going beyond that. And so when people are like, I'm doing this individual sessions that just shock some extra growth, I'm going to use all these techniques, and it's like, what do you really think you're going to get out of that? Your body's only going to gain muscle so fast. It's going to be at a slow rate. What matters is that we are just consistently training hard, and we should be seeing upward trends over time. Now, if you're obviously been cutting a bit or whatever, that's not always going to happen. But what we should be looking at is a general upward trend of progressive overload. How do we define that? Well, we define that by putting more weight on the bar or the dumbbell or the machine, or adding more reps in an individual set. I'm not talking about adding more reps per workout. We're talking about adding more reps on a set-to-set basis. In other words, if you have a weight that you can only lift for 8 reps, and then you hit failure, and we're talking for your full normal range of motion, I'm not talking about cutting range of motion or cheating to get more reps. I'm talking about doing the same technique, same range of motion, something like a barbell curl. You can do a strict barbell curl from the bottom and then curl it up towards your face. Let's say you can do 60 pounds for 8 reps. And over a period of time, you build that up with the same tempo, same range of motion. You build that up to 12 reps. Okay, that is solid progressive overload. You've increased the amount of reps you can do with that weight by 50%. Okay, that is a substantial increase. Or let's say you get it up to 10, you've been doing 60 for 10, and then you build it up to where you can do 70 pounds for 10, 75 pounds for 10 over the course of months and months. All right, that is a substantial improvement in progressive overload. That is going to equate to more muscle growth. Okay, your biceps will be bigger as a result of you having that progressive overload over time, or it's definitely a sign that you have grown. I always tell people that too. Don't take progressive overload other than neural drive gains on really low reps. Don't take that necessarily as the full stimulator of growth. It's the evidence of growth. In other words, once the muscle has grown, it has more force production. It can probably do more reps with the same weight. It can probably do slightly more weight for the same number of reps, right? Your 10 rep max is going to go up, or your 10 rep max is going to turn into a 12 rep max over time. All right, but that is the key thing that people have to understand when we are talking about muscle growth and adaptation. It is something that occurs over a period of time. Muscles grow extremely slow. Barring storage factors like them holding extra water from inflammation or extra glucose storage, the actual muscle growth of the tissue is a very slow process. And once you get through those noob gains, it really is about consistently applying enough tension and working hard enough week after week, month after month, year after year. It's not about, hey, can I shock this muscle and absolutely destroy it in every individual session, to the point to where I'm completely exhausted, all right, and to where you hurt and that muscle hurts for 5 days straight all the time. That's not what we're trying to do here. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.